Good morning and welcome to the Boys Upstairs show. We have myself, I am Tommy. We have Sean on the couch.
Nice to meet you. I'm Sean.
And we have Seamus behind the camera. You can't see him, but he's making everything happen. This is our first ever episode. We have been working for the past couple months to try to get everything off the ground. We're coming from our parents' attic right now. There is an air conditioning system that does not function.
Doesn't work.
And so we are sitting at about 400 degrees right here. But we're going to power through that for the next however long this is a thing. And we're a little hot, but, you know.
If you haven't noticed, my shirt's off because
Sean had to take his shirt off because of how hot it is up here. We've been trying to get this to work for a little bit, but in the sports world, last night we had an elimination game, and 76ers prevailed 104-99 against the Atlanta Hawks in Game 6.
Game 7 coming up.
Game 7's coming, and we're coming. And obviously this is an unbiased show, and we have no opinions that would sway us in any way that would affect our opinions.
Of course not.
That didn't really make sense, but so basically, the key to the game for me, Sean, was Doc putting in Maxey in the third quarter, and obviously before that, but especially in the third quarter, his past couple games is where we have lost the lead, because, and Embiid said it last night in his post game, that when you foul every time we're on offense, that doesn't give us possessions. So they foul Ben goes to free throw line. No matter what, if he misses or makes it, then we have to go play defense again. Then they come back, then we're just standing at the foul line, then they get to come back and play offense. So we weren't playing any offense, we were just watching Ben at the free throw line, and then they get to get into a rhythm on offense.
For sure.
So that slows the game down for us and doesn't allow us to get hot, and it kind of messes up our offense. So by putting Tyrese in there, who, by the way, me and him are very close in age.
You are.
And he is sweet. He is certified buck. And I think, honestly, if he played more, he might be first-team All-Rookie. And I think that he has some first-team All-NBA future ahead of him. And, you know, I think that his post-game really showed how mature of a guy he is. And just the fact that he hadn't played that much previously in the series and was able to deliver when that moment came.
Yeah, I mean, he's a baby AI. Just looking at these numbers here, he played 30 minutes, had 16 points, 7 rebounds. Those are some pretty solid numbers. I think the other key component of last night's game was Tobias Harris. Game 5, he had 6 points, I believe. He had a rough night.
I think it was 4.
4. Yesterday, he had 24 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. He needs to constantly have that every night if we want to prevail.
Look, I have seen a lot of hate on Tobias for the past couple days after his Game 5.
The past couple years.
Well, you know, he played really well in the Wizards series, and he is a third option on a team that kind of, like, it's not a traditional big three. It's a big three in the confines of our offense, whereas Joel's the guy, Ben is facilitator, and Tobias kind of finds himself in that no man's land of trying to just make things happen. Even though he's not like a pure three-point shooter, but he can shoot it. He's not a pure back-to-the-basket guy, even though he's 6'8", 6'9", and he can do everything well, but not something like crazy well like Seth can shoot the three. And I think last night he really took it to heart. You could see after he was missing a couple shots early, and then he got one to go, and he was locked in. Like, he was yelling at guys, like he was super invested in the game, which
he was on for sure.
I think we need that from him, especially in Game 7. And I think that Ben also needs to be in that exact same mindset. I assume that they had a players-only meeting after the Game 5 loss, And I think that whatever Danny Green can't bring right now in terms of leadership because he's off the court, I think that Tobias needs to step up and be that leader because he does seem to be not the most locked in, but super locked in and focused. And at times where Ben kind of plays a little nonchalant, I think that Tobias needs to just be aggressive and pick it up. But so does Ben. And I think that Ben really, in this Game 7, it's the most important game of Ben's career. It's the most important game of the Sixers in my lifetime, aside from Game 7 in Toronto.
Fucking sucked.
But this is the redemption for that. And I think that the fact that we got the 1 seed and we're in Philly for this game, that makes all the difference in the world. And, I think the fact that they lost in Philly Game 5, it just fuels fire that we're going to win this game, or they're going to win this game because I'm unbiased.
For sure.
And I really think it's going to be a huge moment. And I think in terms of matchups, Bogdan Bogdanović has kind of cooled off past couple games. And
he's been getting into some foul trouble.
Yeah, I think that is huge. And as long as he doesn't get hot, I think that we have a good chance. And this series, although I do believe the Sixers are a much better team, the Hawks might be the worst team that we could have played just in terms of matchups. Because, Ben is, in my opinion, best defender in the NBA. However, the way that Trey plays in terms of leaning in basically every time he attempts a shot, if it's not a floater, I think that kind of hurts Ben because he kind of is a defender that likes to sag off and go for steals a lot, and Trey takes advantage of that. And then in terms of Embiid and Capella, Embiid is Capella's father, and Capella is his seaman. And I think that on the block, one-on-one, there's no stopping Embiid. They'll try to bring Collins. They'll try to bring Trey.
Well, yeah, they have a lot of other shooters. Collins, they have Lou Will off the bench, who's huge for them. Gallinari had a great night last night.
Hooter had 17.
I don't think it's Hooter, but
Huerter.
Yeah.
Herter.
Yeah, he had 17. I mean, they all can shoot, which is big for them. That's why they stay in the game. The three ball is huge for them.
That's how teams come back, too, and Doc said that. And I think that this team is a great team in terms of being able to come back from a big lead because they have guys that come off the bench like Lou Will, like Gallinari, that can shoot the ball really well. And Lou Will had 0 points. Like, that right there is a huge sway from Game 5, where he was really the one that kind of ignited the comeback.
For sure.
And Lou Will comes off the bench, obviously, and I think that our bench in Game 5, when we had the whole bench unit out there, was struggling to create offense, and Lou Will is probably top 5 ever in being able to create offense just one-on-one. So I think that the substitution of Maxey in helped with creating offense, and I think that
For sure.
I think that Furk didn't play a lot.
Man down.
Are you good?
Just some technical difficulties.
Yeah, we're having a little. It's our first show, but I think that Furk didn't play a lot of minutes, but the minutes he did play were valuable.
They were solid.
I think that he kind of struggles on the defensive end sometimes, and so that's why he didn't play a lot because we didn't want to give up another comeback. But I think that it's time for us to go into a little
segment
here. Not necessarily a segment, but just a little clip of
Look at
why
this.
I think that the NBA media is doing itself a little bit of a disservice by pumping up Trae Young as much as they do. And I realize that he's a budding superstar and that they want to create his brand and make his legacy and develop him into a superstar, which happens through media attention as well as playing. And he's a good showman. and he does ignite the crowd. But I think that his style of basketball is kind of like detrimental to basketball in general.
It's annoying.
It's annoying, and it's not fun to watch. And here's a couple clips of what I'm saying. So this is an old game right there. I mean, literally twerking into the foul. He was way past the defender, easily could have gotten a shot off. Instead, he leans his butt into the crotch of the defender in order to get a foul. And here we go again. Literally no actual shot attempt.
It's not a shot.
He's just twerking into the defender. So there's just some clips of him doing that. And I only bring this up because I think that I watch the game from beginning to end. I think that some people who tweet, like, not saying that 2 Chainz doesn't watch the games, but 2 Chainz is tweeting like Trae Young's the best ever, whatever, stuff like that. Like, I just think that he's probably seeing the score. Trae had 34. Obviously, 34 points is good, but, you know, he missed 17 shots. Like, Joel Embiid took 24 shots. He missed 15. Trae missed 17. But Embiid's were legitimate tries to make shots. You know what I mean? Like, he missed a lot of shots, got his rebound, put it back up. Trae is doing I'm not actually shooting, but I can't get off a good shot, so I'm going to lean in and make it look like I was fouled. And I just think that in terms of his building his brand, I don't think that his game is something that the NBA wants to see become like a trend. You know what I mean?
It's not good basketball.
There are guys that do it. Steph does it from time to time. I think Trae is the biggest culprit. Luka does it a little bit.
Harden a bit
for sure. But I just think that Trae does it to the level where it's just like, and I realize that he doesn't have another like superstar on his team, so he does have to carry. And there are times where he doesn't see a better option, so he just does that, which isn't his fault. So I think that the fix is the NBA needs to eliminate this from the game, and then we'll really see how good Trae Young is. Because there was a point in the game last night where he tried to do the little fake shot, get fouled, and they didn't call it, and he just caught the ball, and he's like, I don't know what to do now. And so I think that if they eliminate that from being a foul, I think that would make it harder for Trae Young, because he does it a lot. And I'm not using that as an excuse.
And given it's not his fault, he's found a loophole in the NBA rules.
He's found a loophole in the system, which isn't his fault. The NBA needs to fix it. And getting to the topic of fouls, I think that the fact that the Sixers did not have a starter get to the free throw line until the fourth quarter,
it's unacceptable.
While Tobias and Ben are both in foul trouble 5 minutes into the game, as you can see here, Joel Embiid said after the game, I was hacked all night. I just want it to be called evenly both ways. And Doc said something similar in his post-game conference. So I think that the refs may or may not have not called it fairly.
It was a little bit of a home job.
You never want to say that, especially in elimination games, because you don't want to make excuses like that.
Of course not.
But, I mean, I've never heard of no starters shooting a free throw to the fourth quarter, especially in a playoff game. And especially when they're getting, a lot of calls, especially Trae Young. And there was one point where Trae Young early in the game leaned off and used his arm to create separation and got the layup. And Hubie Brown, the commentator, was talking about how smart that was. And then later on in the game, Embiid did the same thing. And he was like, yeah, right there, you can't do that. You can't use your arm to create separation. It's like, okay, I understand that Trae Young is a third of Embiid's size, so it doesn't look as aggressive. But if it's the exact same move, you can't just, give Embiid foul there because he's big and it looks more aggressive.
For sure.
I just think that the officials tried to, they wanted to make the game faster, which I appreciate. I don't like when a lot of fouls are called, but if you're going to call fouls on one team and not call them on the other team, then that doesn't make the game faster. That just makes it a little unfair.
And touching on the foul shooting, at the end of the game, we had 3 situations where, they were down 5 maybe, and they score real quick and then foul. And the Sixers did a great job making their 3 throws to close out the game. Tobias Harris, Maxey, came in clutch. got their 3 throws down, sealed the game, which was huge.
Yeah, and Tobias again has been under scrutiny, and he made those free throws, and I think that he shut a lot of people up by making those.
Let's switch gears now to the Jazz Clippers. Yeah, Tommy?
Yeah, so I think that I just want to address off rip that I think that Paul George has gotten probably the most hate of any player. And last year it was
pandemic Pete.
Yeah, last year it was granted. But I think that, and this is a deeper issue, but I think that social media has allowed us to just continue to pile on when someone has a bad game. And, people are human. They'll see things. And then you get in the next game 2 days later, and you're thinking about that. You missed one shot, and you're like, "I'm right. They were right."
But you got to block it out. You
got to block it out, and he has done that the past 2 games. He has completely taken over. Kawhi's hurt, and I think that honestly, everybody kind of expected the Jazz to win
for sure.
And Paul George has completely taken off, and I think that the contributors obviously played a huge role.
He's playing like he did on the Pacers. Like he's stepping up in that one role again because Kawhi is out.
Yeah, I think that when he was on the Thunder playing with Russ, I love Russ. I think that playing with Russ is hard at times, and I think that Paul George plays well when he has the ball in his hand and he can create. And I just think that him getting so much hate has finally turned into fuel for him. And he's realized that this is his moment, and he's taken full advantage of it. And the same can be said for Terrence Mann, who had 39 and in the biggest game of his career. And I think that, I don't expect him to continue to play like that, but if he can play half as good as that, I think that they have a shot against the Suns. And I think that Paul George could potentially save his legacy if they advance to the finals. Who knows what happens in the finals? We have no idea who's going to come out of the East yet. But I think that these past 2 games have really helped quiet the noise on Paul George.
For sure. Respect to Donovan Mitchell. He played his heart out. But the Jazz ultimately lose, and the Suns Clippers in the Western Conference Finals. That's going to be fun-ass
That's an
matchup
exciting
to watch.
series. I'm excited for that. Hopefully Paul George or Chris Paul can get back fast from the COVID protocol, and
hopefully Kawhi.
At times it feels like Chris Paul in the playoffs just kind of has a curse on him with the injuries, and this is the first postseason where he's been available as much as he has, and now COVID just it's unfortunate, but I think that he could be back hopefully soon. And, they're a completely different team. Obviously, they were last in the West before he came, and now they're in the Western Conference Finals. So he makes the world of a difference for them. And, Reggie Jackson has really stepped up. And I also just want to say that Terrence Mann dropped 39 on the Defensive Player of the Year. Just putting that out there for the experts who made him Defensive Player of the Year. Clearly know what they're talking about.
And Ben Simmons had a clutch block on Trae Young in the final minutes of the game, but he didn't win the
We're unbiased.
Unbiased.
We're completely unbiased. But Ben Simmons, who also can't shoot, had 41 or 2 points on Rudy Gobert earlier in the year.
But he can't shoot.
We're unbiased, and we respect the opinions of the experts who dedicate their lives to awarding those awards. But I think that the game tonight really
Bucks Nets
really is one that I think everyone's been waiting for since the Big Three in Brooklyn was assembled. Obviously, Kyrie's out, which is unfortunate, but I think that these past 2 games in that series have really showed that this could go either way.
For sure.
It seemed early on that Brooklyn was just a much better team.
I thought it was going to be over in 4, and
it was going to be sweep.
Well,
and a lot of people were, getting on that train. Yeah. And credit to the Bucks. I think that Drew Holiday really does not get enough love, and I think that his impact defensively and offensively has changed the Bucks, changed who they are. Chris Middleton has been coming up big, and he needs to do that tonight. And I think that in Brooklyn, no Kyrie,
with Harden
on one
and
leg.
KD versus Ante.
So I'm gonna let you pick first, and then I'll pick. Unbiased,
Clearly, because
have no affiliation with either of those teams. Have no affiliation with any team, really. And
unbiased with the Bucks, the way they're moving right now, I think I might have to go the Bucks.
you think the Bucks are gonna win?
They're on a little kick right now.
So what makes you think the Bucks are gonna win tonight?
Well, just what you said. Harden's playing half healthy. Kyrie's confirmed out for Game 7, and the Bucks won last game. They're on a kick. Giannis is cruising, and the Bucks are gonna prevail.
That was some in-depth analysis.
I know. Thank you.
You can't get that anywhere else.
Can't.
And that's what makes us the best up-and-coming show out there. And I really think that it's going to be on Blake Griffin tonight to be the X factor for the Nets. Obviously, if James Harden can be who he is when he's fully healthy, then I don't think the Bucks are going to win. I don't think they have a chance. But he's not. And that's, just a result of a shortened season, and a lot of players are hurt, and it's affecting every team in some way. And I think that if Giannis can facilitate but also be aggressive, and Drew Holiday can, lock up on D and find the open man, then I think that, and again, we're unbiased, but I just think that Brooklyn's lack of interior depth hurts them.
For sure. They traded everybody to get the big three.
Well, I think that Bruce Brown has been playing well, and I don't think that Claxton is a bad player, but when it comes down to it, I just don't think that those guys can stop a fully healthy Giannis or a
Simmons, Embiid.
Well, I'm just talking about tonight. They still have to win
For sure.
Game 7 against the Hawks to even be in that conversation. But I just think tonight the Bucks are very strong in the interior, and if Brook Lopez is knocking down threes, and James Harden isn't healthy enough to really make as big of an impact as he would if he is healthy, then I think that the.
So your pick is the Bucks.
I'm
is
gonna
what
take
you're
the
saying.
Nets.
You're taking the Nets.
I'm taking the Nets. I feel like, in my heart of hearts, I think that the Nets are a better team, and it just feels like it would be a huge letdown if they didn't make it to at least the Eastern Conference Finals.
That's what everyone would be talking about.
100%. So would we, because we're a show.
We are.
And
the boys upstairs.
We're the boys upstairs, and we're talking about basketball.
We are talking about sports. This is our job.
I'm trying to get this fucking picture coming. All right. Sorry. And so yeah, I'm taking the Nets just because I think they're gonna win. I think that they are
nice.
Yeah, I think that they're a better team. I don't think that Brooklyn is as good of a team as they can be right now, obviously because of the injuries, and I think that. A lack of experience in the head coach position may hurt them when it comes down to crunch time. Mike Budenholzer isn't the best head coach either, so who knows?
The Bucks have had a tendency to choke with
Yeah, and I think that this is a game that Giannis is going to remember forever. If he can beat Kevin Durant and James Harden in an elimination Game 7 to get to the Eastern Conference Finals, that's huge for him and his brand and his legacy and everything like that. However, if he loses, coach gets fired, they might need to find somebody else to come in and be a number 2. Giannis is locked up for long term, so he's staying. But then they just kind of find themselves where they've been the past couple of years. Do they have a good enough team to make a run?
For sure.
Or can a team like Brooklyn just sign a bunch of guys, trade for a bunch of guys, and be good in 1 year? That's really what it comes down to, because the Bucks have built this team, other than Drew Holiday, from the ground up, and it really just is going to come down to, at the end of the game, who's making shots, what coach can draw up a better play, the experienced guy who's on the hot seat, or Steve Kerr, one of the best players of all time, who's a brand new head coach. And I just think that if KD's in the zone, Giannis can't check him. I just think that if Harden can play, half as good as he usually does, it's going to be hard to check him as well. And they're both good facilitators. And Blake is really the X factor. And I think that if he has a big game, it's going to be hard to stop him. But I think that Brooklyn does win tonight. And
well,
I don't know what happens for the Bucks after that, but hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they win and then all their troubles are gone.
Well, our questions will be answered in the coming days. Until then,
tonight.
Well, I mean for every game.
Oh, for every game, yeah. Yeah. Really quickly, I just want to get your early prediction on the Suns versus Clippers. Who you think's
Suns,
winning that
Clippers?
series? Just because we know that that's the teams now.
I think it's going to 6. And
it's going to be done in 6 games.
Taking the Suns.
So the Suns take care of them in 6. Interesting.
Your thoughts?
Well, we'll see. I think that it's really dependent on Chris Paul and his COVID protocol when he can play, because if he's out for multiple games, then...
You don't believe Booker will be...
Look, Devin Booker's a fantastic player, but if you just look at history, before Chris Paul got there, they were at the bottom of the barrel.
For sure.
And now he's there, and they're...
But Aiden's really stepped up his game, and the team's really...
It's easier to... Chris Paul could not be a better complement to Devin Booker, because Chris Paul is great at finding the open guy, finding the guy in his spots, and facilitating probably better than anybody ever has. And so Devin Booker's a great catch-and-shoot guy, but he also can create. And I think that without Chris Paul on the floor, that forces Devin Booker to have to create much more, and the Clippers are a great defensive team. So I think it's a little early to know for sure. Can't be definitive. If Chris Paul plays the majority of the games, I think that the Suns will win. However, if playoff P can keep playing like he's been playing, keep proving people wrong, then I think Clippers win, and they get to their first finals ever.
Well, let's take a look at the Clippers playoffs so far. They beat the Mavericks in 6. They just beat the Jazz in 7. So they haven't really been sharp. They've pretty much just getting by.
Yeah, but they also have proved that without Kawhi, they can win on the road, and playoff P can be the guy. And without Chris Paul, we have not yet seen Devin Booker prove that he can be the guy. So it's going to be a great series. I'm very excited. I'm also very excited tonight. And
got some good games coming up.
For joining us.
We're done now.
Thank you for joining us on our first episode. We plan to get much better, and we hope that you rock with us going forward. And, yeah, we're pretty pumped. So enjoy the game tonight, enjoy the game tomorrow, and we'll see you soon. Sean, would you like to say anything before we go?
Nope. Goodbye.
All right. Sweet. I think it was pretty good.
Yeah.